Welcome back to another video episode of the Best of LKN Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Hamm, and today we're catching up with Mike Calinoff with Doglogics, based in Mooresville, serving the entire Lake Norman and Charlotte areas. Mike, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Jeff. It's good to be back.
Great to see you again. It's been a while. You were on the podcast last year, and your business has just been booming. And it's been so cool to follow and see how it's grown. How is 2023?
2023 was amazing. It was a great year. We exceeded expectations, and 2024 has gotten off to an amazing start as well. It's incredible. Sometimes I don't believe it myself, to be honest with you.
For listeners who are new to the podcast or didn't catch our previous conversation last year, share with them just a brief overview of the services that you offer your clients.
Yeah, so I work with puppies up to adult dogs. Everything is in-home, and then socialization, which we do locally. So we go to like the Birkdale and Lowe's and different places around town just to get dogs social.
You also offer dog walking services too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's another business, Bark Avenue. We do a lot of visits every day. We do multiple daily visits. We don't do any overnights, but everything is multiple daily visits to let dogs out, exercise them, things of that nature.
By the way, my English bulldog Maisie says hello.
Yeah, good. Yeah, she's a good girl.
She is a good girl.
Yeah,
she's
a little loud sometimes, but a good girl.
She's a little spoiled.
Yeah, that's all right.
Maybe I'll drop in a photo of Maisie in the B-roll here. I really was looking forward to catching up because I know that as a dog owner, I have two dogs. Maisie's the problem child, but both dogs are so sweet and we adore them. We have so many questions. We've done so many things incorrectly when it came to training our dogs and socializing them. So I wanted to catch up and really talk about, some frequently asked questions that you've run into over the years, and some questions that I have too, but that are common among dog owners. And I wondered if maybe we could share some helpful content for listeners and viewers.
Yeah, first, let me stop you for a second. And you say you have a dog that's your problem child. Really, the dogs aren't the problem, right?
I know.
Every dog comes kind of with a clean slate, and so that's what my training is really for the owners. But we do things inadvertently to make our dogs the way they are, and they feed off our energy and everything else. So it's really not the dog.
I agree.
You know that.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Thank you for correcting
me. Yeah, of
course. I appreciate that. So, are you ready to dive into some dog training FAQs?
Yeah, let's do it.
With Mike Calinoff? All right. First question I've got for you is, how do you begin working with a dog who is aggressive with, let me rephrase that. How do you begin working with owners of a dog who is aggressive or a little reactive to people or other dogs?
Yeah, so you corrected yourself perfectly, because the first thing that I really do is work with the owners and explain to them, first of all, they don't have bad dogs, right? They have dogs that have issues. They're kind of like people. And so I try to explain first why their dogs are doing what they're doing, and how when they are on a walk with their dog, what they could be doing that is adding to reactivity or aggression. And a lot of it has to do with tension on the leash. So we have a dog that is reactive to people, say when they see people coming, or other dogs. What most people like to do is they want to get their dog sitting, and then they pet them, and they tell them it's okay. That dog wants to be your friend. That man is a nice man. And what happens is you start telling your dog that, because they don't understand English, right? So you start telling your dog, oh, what you're doing is great. I like when you do it. Because the voice that you use when you're trying to calm your dog down is the same voice that you use when you say, oh, what a good boy for chewing your bone on your bed. And so I like to get into that first with the owners to get them in the right mindset. So when they go on the walk, they have more confidence and they're not feeding into that reactivity or aggression.
What are some other causes for reactivity with a dog?
So first of all, sometimes it's just bad wiring. Again, like people, right? They have a deficiency of something, serotonin. It could really be anything. So we look at that, but a lot of it is when people get these puppies, especially young dogs, puppies, and they don't socialize them. They don't expose them enough to other dogs, to people in social settings. If they only, they don't walk them, they only bring them out in the yard. And then when their dog is barking at other things in the yard, they're yelling at the dog to stop barking and things like that. All those things start to escalate, and it layers on top of layers of reactivity. It just continues to get worse and worse. So again, 90% of issues in dogs, we cause inadvertently.
90% of the time, 100% of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned the tension on a leash
Yeah.
can sometimes cause a dog to be more reactive. I think that's something that's maybe a mistake I've been making with our English Bulldog over the years. We could probably go into an entirely different podcast episode about how to handle that specific situation. But are there some tips or some basic tips for how to help calm your dog while they're on the leash?
Yeah, so a lot of it at the beginning, until you understand what you do need to do, is avoidance, right? If you see a dog coming or people coming, your dog's going to react, go across the street, turn around, go the other way, right? And it sounds like, oh, well, I don't want to have to do that. I want my dog to understand and learn. But at the beginning, you just have to stop it from happening to begin with. But where people go wrong is they'll when they see a dog coming or a person coming and they know their dog is going to react, what do? The first thing they do is they stop. And when you break the cadence of the walk, your dog's going, hey, why did we stop? Something is up. Mm-hmm. And if you do this every time, they start to understand, oh, when I stop, I know what's happening next, right? And what happens next is they stop, and now the dog is looking around. Where's the dog? Where's the person? And now you realize your dog sees that dog and is about to react, so you put a lot of tension in that leash. You're going to try to hold them back. The more leash pressure you put, the higher alert the dog is going to get. And so, again, when our emotions literally go through the leash and they know when we're nervous or not confident, and so we put some tension in the leash because we don't want it to explode and be embarrassing. And so what that does is it heightens the dog some more. Mm-hmm. So the best thing really to do at the beginning in that situation is get out of the situation. The more times you can minimize your dog reacting, the better off you're going to be, and the easier it's going to be to fix.
Yeah, change the environment. Avoid the situation. Change. It's good advice for humans too.
Yeah,
by the way.
For sure.
And then, of course, also, if you can't avoid the situation, just continue walking. Try not to break that cadence.
Yeah, you want to keep moving. I like to use a lot of food, right, mm-hmm. on walks, because that's really what motivates dogs. And so you have to make yourself more interesting on the walks, right? It's the reason the dogs pull is because they have a reflex, an opposition reflex. They go against pressure. The more pressure you put on the dog, the more they want to go against that pressure. And so you have to make yourself a little more interesting on the walk so that the dog wants to walk with you and be with you. So I do check-ins, right? So we're walking along, and every so often, every 10 steps or so, we start giving the dog a reward for giving us some eye contact. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do that for the rest of your life. What you're doing is you're building a walking relationship with the dog. It's really about making yourself a little more exciting, because otherwise you're just a leash holder. Yeah. That's really all you're doing.
Yeah. Excessive sniffing, that describes my Labrador.
Yeah. Well, dogs have to sniff.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to do it. It's good mental stimulation, and just naturally they have to do it. But there's a balance there. You want to create a relationship where you're going to get to do some sniffing, but we're also going to keep moving forward as well.
Yeah. You mentioned also that you work a lot with puppies, and a lot with owners of new puppies who have just added a puppy to the household, which is always a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Always seems like a wonderful idea.
It's a great idea on paper. And then the puppy behaviors that kick in, the nipping, the biting, the jumping, the barking. Mm-hmm. It gets crazy. Getting a puppy, and people don't understand this until they go through it, is one of the most emotional things you can go through, because you get this dog and you're thinking about the future. It's going to be a great dog, great family member and companion. And then all of a sudden these behaviors start kicking in. And they're all natural behaviors, right? They do it just like a template. They all do the same things at the same time. And it's very emotional. And so people, they don't really know what to do, and they get aggravated, and they have buyer's remorse. And then they're yelling at the dog for peeing in the house when it's really not their fault, right? They don't know. You have to teach them to do it outside. But you have to set them up to be successful by taking them outside at the right intervals, right? So puppies are crazy. They're what saves them is they're cute.
Yeah.
So as nutty as it gets, people are like, I love this dog really most of the time, but he's so cute, but he's doing this and he's doing that, and he's frustrating me. I love when clients tell me, my dog frustrates me. And I say, no, your dog's not frustrating you. You're frustrated, right? You're probably frustrated in traffic too. It's not the dog that's causing. Dog is doing what dogs do, right? It's how you're responding to it. So a lot of my training, especially with puppies, is a lot of interaction like that. You talk a lot of people off the ledge all the time.
I believe it. I believe it. What are some common mistakes people make with their new puppies?
The biggest one is giving them too much freedom too quickly. If you give a dog a lot of freedom, like in the house, and I always advocate to get a house line, like a leash to drag around the house with a harness on, so you can control their area, right? If they're jumping on something or they grab something, you can go ahead and get them. So they give the dog too much space because they think, oh, well, they'll stay right by me, but then they don't. And so then they do destructive chewing, and then they pee in the house because we're not controlling them. So you have to first control your puppy's area. That's the biggest mistake people make. The second one is not socializing them enough. Even early on, before they get their vaccines, there's still ways to get them out and about and introduce them to noises and sounds and people. And then the other thing is people don't leave their dogs alone. Like when I say alone, like they have to constantly pick them up and pet them. And you got to let the dog be a dog. Mm-hmm. You have to let them learn some independence. If you consistently are engaging with that dog, and we take him to the store, and we bring him to pick up the kids from school and all those things, what happens is when life gets busy and the novelty of having that puppy wears off a little bit, we have to focus on other things. Now, when you leave, the dog's like, hey, what about me? How come I'm not going with you? And so essentially I tell clients all the time, don't lie to your dog. Don't lie to him and tell him, I'm always going to be here. I'm always going to be picking you up. And you should do that. And that's why we get dogs, to be with them and have them as members of the family. But they have to learn some independence too, because otherwise you're setting them up for like separation anxiety, which is a tough thing. I deal with a lot of it. And it's a lot of it's tough to fix. It really is.
Yeah, separation anxiety is, I've known that to be a pretty common problem. Thankfully, we don't have that issue with our dogs. We have other issues, but we don't have that issue. Yeah. On the topic of behaviors and symptoms, are there specific behaviors that you don't necessarily work with?
Not really. I mean, I like complicated cases. I love reactivity stuff. I'm working with a dog now that's a 3-year-old Yorkie, and for whatever reason, whatever caused this, it's nutty. It's kind of off the charts. Anytime these people cook in their house, when they turn on their stove or they start getting pots and pans, the dog loses his mind, like off the charts. And it also outside when they grill, when they fire up the grill outside, the dog is just losing his mind, running around room to room, up the stairs, down the stairs. And so they did a lot of DoorDash for a while. And so I don't know what the root of it was, and they don't even know when it changed. So, I don't have enough information to really try to figure that part out. But what we're doing is desensitizing the dog from those noises, those sounds, creating other things for the dog to do and other things for them to do on how they prepare before they're going to cook, what they're going to do with the dog, things like that.
You like the interesting projects.
Love it.
Yeah. The new challenges.
Yeah, I love it.
Have you ever run into a dog that's not teachable?
No, I run into a lot of people that aren't teachable. And so with that's why I do consultations. Like if you call, you say, I have an issue with my dog, he's doing this, he's bad on walks, whatever. I still I don't have to see the dog, I have to see the people to see if they're going to have buy-in on the training and if they're willing to do what it's going to take to get that dog fixed. And so I had a guy a few weeks ago, and his dog barks out the window all the time, all day long. Actually at the front door. He's got a big glass door. And so I went and met with him, and the door was open. The dog was barking at everything that went by. And so I said, well, the first thing we're going to have to do here is we have to stop it from happening. Before you can fix it, you have to get in front of it a little bit and stop it from happening. So, what I would suggest right now, just in the interim, is to close the front door. And he said, oh, I'm not doing that. I said, why? He says, I like my sunlight. I said, well, we have to block the dog's view because now this is all he knows. And the guy works from home too, so he's on calls all the time, and the dog is barking. He's yelling at the dog. I said, if you just shut the door, right? He can't bark at what he can't see, right? He goes, well, I like my light. I said, well, it's going to be very bright and loud. And that's pretty much what I told him. And I said, if you're not willing to do that, I mean, I can't help you. Like, because what he wanted was another fix. Like, what? Tell the dog to stop barking. When I say stop barking, the dog should stop barking. It doesn't work that way. Funny
how, I'm sure a lot of potential clients or new clients want you to fix the dog, but really it's them that needs to be fixed,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So the other thing that I deal with sometimes is people that don't believe, right? So I met with somebody last year, and I went through the whole program. He had a dog, a very reactive dog, and he says, I explained to him what I think we can do to fix the dog. And he's like, all right, because I'll do it. And he sounded like a little reluctant. I said, well, you don't sound like you're very enthused about doing this. He says, well, I'll do it, but I'm not. I don't believe you're going to be able to fix it. And I said, well, why do you feel that way? He says, because I've already had 3 other trainers. And I said, I can't help you. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, I can't help you, because of those 3 trainers in this area, there are great trainers in this area. Of those 3 trainers, I guarantee you one of them was amazing. One of them, probably all of them, but one of them at least was amazing. And I said, if you've had 3 trainers and it's not working, it's you. Mm-hmm. He says, well, it's frustrating. I said, well, there you go. If you don't have buy-in, I can't help you. And I said, you don't have to believe it, right? You don't have to believe that I can help you with this stuff. You have to believe that I believe. Believe that I'm confident that we can solve this problem. And if you just start there, and then we can go from there. And he's doing great.
Great, yeah. Made the commitment.
Yeah.
Took it upon himself.
Listen, I had to be a little blunt with him and tell him it's you. Mm-hmm. Right. He probably caused a lot of the reactivity, right? Because what he was doing, and not because he was bad, he just didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. He's trying to reason with the dog. You can't reason with the dog. And so, but I had to be blunt with him, because I'm not going to get into something that can't be finished. I'm not going to start. It's not worth it to me, because I'm not going to set up for failure.
Yeah.
So, again, when I tell people all the time, if you've had multiple trainers, you gotta look at you, because I guarantee you, one of those trainers knew what they were doing and was a great trainer.
Speaking of looking at ourselves, you've worked with my wife and I and our dog Maisie, our English Bulldog, and I've watching you work with Maisie, it amazed both of us how responsive she is to you. And I get I feel like from watching you at some of your clinics in person, I see that with really so many of these dogs are very responsive and receptive to you. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's not my looks, right? No, I mean, I feel like I have a really good understanding of how dogs think. I study a lot of it. I do a lot of reading. And obviously I have my own dogs, right? And so I think I feel like I can connect pretty well with dogs with some good eye contact. Of course, food helps, right? Mm-hmm. You get a dog's attention with food. Dog training is about the nose, right? And the ears, the eyes also, but really the nose and the ears is the more important component of dog training, right? And so I feel like I do understand the dog's body language, and I can connect a little bit better. And if I'm doing that, really what that really helps with the whole training process is that the owners see, yes, this can be done. So I do what I call a silent stay, right? Where I don't use the word stay. I don't do hand signals, none of that. We teach the dog sit means to stay. And I tell people, this is what we're going to do. And the dog's going to sit and stay till we tell them not to. And they say, oh, my dog will never do that, till they see it happen, right? And so once they see it and they have proof of concept, and the dog has proof of concept that it stayed without seeing my hand or hearing the word stay, which they would have no way of knowing what that meant anyway. Once they see that happen, now they have buy-in on the training, right? So really, the demonstrative part of the training really helps from when I leave, because all I'm doing is really working with the owners, showing them, do it this way, and you can get the results. Because I'm not hanging around.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to leave and come back next week and see where we're at. So, So having that connection with the dog and trying to understand like really what they're thinking and how they're thinking definitely helps.
Us as owners, we have to do the work when you're not there,
Yeah.
right? We have to stay consistent.
Absolutely.
And that makes all the difference, right?
Yeah. When people ask, what happens if we go through all the sessions and at the end the dog is no different? What are you going to do about it? And I'm not going to do anything about it. What do you mean you're not going to do anything about it? It has nothing to do with me. I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to give you the best information. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm available for questions. You have to do it. Like when we go out for socialization, I'm showing you what to do. When we go on a walk with your dog on the leash, I'm showing you what to do. When I get out of here, you got to do it. If you don't do it, the dog's not going to learn.
Yeah, it makes sense. Got to be committed.
Yep.
How about some dog training stories? Can you share some stories?
Yeah, sure. I've got a lot of them. I'll give you a couple of good ones. So in 2022, I got a call from these folks in Charlotte, a family of a husband and wife, young couple with 2 kids, 3 and 5 years old. They had gotten a beagle from the ASPCA's raid in the Envigo Research Center in Virginia. And they went in, they took thousands of these beagles out that were being used for research. And then they placed them, the ones that they were able to save, they placed them all over the country. And these people actually got one from Triangle Beagle in Raleigh. And so they bring this dog home, and they didn't really know what to expect. They thought, well, the dog will be a perfectly normal dog. Well, the dog was almost a year old, had never seen a toy, had only seen other beagles and a lot of them, and was of course not socialized. And so this dog was paralyzed with fear. And I remember walking in, and the dog was like, because it just didn't know what to do. It didn't even know how to be a dog. And so the dog was scared of everything. They could not take a pot and put it on a stove. Anything that was metal or shiny, for whatever reason, the dog would freak out. And so what that also did was the kids were scared of the dog. And it was a big disappointment that they got this puppy. It wasn't really a puppy. It was almost a year old. And they bring this dog home as a family pet. And the dog was petrified, and the kids were petrified. And so I worked with that dog and that family for a long time in small doses. You had to do small doses with that dog. And he's great. I mean, it took a lot of work, but we had to teach the dog, to be a puppy, to enjoy things. I see them all the time, and I hear from them all the time. They send me videos of the kids, and I almost get emotional sometimes when I see videos of the kids laying on the floor with the dog, right? Which the kids wouldn't come in the same room, and now they're hugging on this dog around Christmas. It just when I do stuff like that, when I'm a part, and I'm a small part of it, right? Because again, when I leave, they have to do all these things, right? And it's a lot of work, and it can be frustrating, and then you don't get results immediately. But they're a patient family, and the kids were great, and Groot turned out to be, he's just an amazing dog. He's just and I see those videos, and it just I know why I get up in the morning to do this stuff.
Very rewarding.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah.
On that topic, what would you say is the best part of your work?
Seeing people's lives change with their dog. A lot of times, I'll get a call or a form in where it's a last resort. The dog has some kind of might have an aggression issue. They might be guarding food or toys or bones or people, things like that, and they're about to get rid of this dog. And when I can go in there and help them help their dog, and they can keep it as part of their family, you've saved a family dynamic, and you've potentially saved the dog as well. So when I do things like that, it's very rewarding. And even with puppies, when I see people's lives change with their puppies, because really the first year it's a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. Everything's a pain in the ass with puppies, right? When they have to go to the bathroom, the nipping, the biting, the jumping, the barking, all the crazy things, and to see people's lives go up and down constantly. And then the dog hits a year, and they've followed through on all the training, and the whole thing changes. And what happens is, and I tell people this all the time, if you follow through on all these things, about a year and a half, you're going to get another puppy. And they say, never again, never happening. And I say, you'll see. And here's why. Here's why this happens. It's the same principle of why some women have a second child, because they forget what the first one was like. Mm-hmm. And you literally block out the crazy puppy times. When your puppy gets better and starts really responding, and you have a different relationship with that dog, you forget about the bad. You just block it out. I mean, it's kind of natural that you do that. Mm-hmm. And then they get another dog, and then it happens again. They say, oh, now I remember why we waited to do this, or why we said we would never do it. But and I tell people all the time, if you follow the program and you maintain, you know what to do, you won't have to call me again, because you'll know what to do from day one. And a lot of people call me anyway because it's fun. We have a good time. I have good relationships with the clients. When I see dogs hit a year and see how people's lives have changed, and sometimes I remind them, remember when you were texting me at midnight because your dog wouldn't go to sleep in the crate, and they say, oh yeah, because they forgot about it. Yeah. Because now the dog sleeps great.
Yeah. Yeah. How soon we forget.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How long have you been in business?
So I started my my pet sitting business in the end of 2016, and then quickly realized that there's a lot of dogs have a lot of issues, especially on the leash, and so I started studying some dog training to see if I could just help my clients, right? And then it just evolved from there, and it kind of blew up. I hired hiring a good trainer, really good trainer, who is still very active today. She has her own business, amazing, and then just built it from there.
It's funny how a successful business, I see it time and time again, interviewing entrepreneurs like you and local small business owners with successful enterprises. They almost, I hate to use the word stumble across, but you bump into this problem and you come up with a solution, right? And by providing that solution, it's the best premise for a successful business, I think.
The best part of my business, honestly, is solving problems. I love it. I love the challenge of it. Every dog needs something different. Every owner needs something different. Just because their dog is reactive on walks doesn't mean that they're all the same, that they do the same things at the same time. Some dogs can see another dog or a person from a great distance and will react, and the dog has to be right on top of them or the person right near them, and they'll react. So you have to find a solution really individually for each case a little differently.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, Mike, I've got one more question for you. It might throw you for a little bit of a loop. It's a little bit off topic, but I got to ask you, if you could change one thing about your work, your business, your life, what would it be?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No. No. Oh, if I could figure out how to add maybe 5 hours into a day, and maybe the 2 or 3 days in the week.
Yeah.
If I could figure that out, yeah, that would be good. That would be a good change. I wouldn't mind being able to do that. Everything else, like I'm at a point in my life where I get up in the morning and I go and I do this, right? And I come home late a lot of times, 8, 9 o'clock sometimes, and I'm a little tired, and I say, oh yeah, this has been a long day. But then I get up in the morning and I can't wait to do it again, because it's really rewarding work. My clients are great. Like, I love my clients. I love helping them and solving problems. And I'm always learning too. Every time I do a new case with something crazy, like, it's an opportunity for me to learn as well. Because a lot of times you have to learn on the fly. Like, you have to figure out things as you go, because the dog's unpredictable. You don't know how he's going to respond to each thing. So yeah, there's not too much I would change. I love doing it. And yeah, it's just fun work.
It's the love of the work that gets us up in the morning and carries us through those long work days, days, nights, weekends.
It's not even work.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
I don't go to work. I say I'm going to fun.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't look at it as my job. And when I started doing this, you do it to make a living. That's why you work. Right. And of course, I still do it to make a living, but I really do it to make a difference. Mm-hmm. That's really where the reward is.
I love that. I love it when I hear a small business owner talk like that. That's really cool. Well, congratulations on the growth of your business, the success you've had. How can listeners and viewers learn more about Doglogics?
You just go to the website, doglogics.com. Anything you need to know is on there. And if you want to set up a consultation, you just fill out the form. I'll get a hold of you, and I'll come over and take a peek, see what you got going on.
And before I close, share a little bit of information about your Instagram account. That your account has just exploded. You've done such an amazing job on these producing these reels for your Instagram account.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I used to look at Instagram and say, boy, I wonder how they get all those followers. Mm-hmm. And now I know.
Now you know.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
I will have links in the show notes for Doglogics, for the Instagram account, and of course, how you can contact Mike and get in touch. This has been Dog Training FAQs with Mike Calinoff, the owner of Doglogics. Mike, thanks a lot for joining the podcast again.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.